The Philadelphia Eagles just made a move, and it is way more significant than it may appear at surface level. We'll talk about what this means for the Birds' future and how Howie Roseman continues to outsmart the rest of the NFL. Also, we get some last-minute draft chatter from Adam Schefter and more. We'll get into all the latest buzz, but welcome into A to Z Philly. I'm RB. Do me a favor, like this video. Go down below right now, subscribe to our channel. We will have you covered all the way up and through the NFL draft this week. I am so pumped. It is finally here. Happy draft week to everybody that celebrates. And all of us Eagle Nation get a huge bomb here on a Monday. That is right, according to Adam Schefter. Breaking news. Pro Bowl center Cam Jurgens and the Eagles have reached an agreement on a 4-year, $68 million contract extension. That includes $39.4 million in guarantees and contractually ties him throughout the 2029 season. That is right. The Eagles have locked up another offensive lineman. Obviously, they gave the extension to Lane Johnson, but Cam Jurgens and what he was able to do and what he's been able to do over these first couple years, keep in mind, coming in, playing guard, shifting over to center, very versatile, dynamic. He just feels like an Eagles lifer right now. And honestly, I'm not going to say he's better than Jason Kelce. Of course, I wouldn't do that. But just based on his talent in these first several years, he looks like he can be really good for a long time. So I'm happy they wrapped him up here. And Cam Jurgens, keep in mind what he did in the playoffs. I mean, that was heroic. Him and Dickerson kind of alternating there, especially in the NFC Championship game. That was impressive. And it showed what kind of not only player he was, but teammate, person as well. So I am glad that he will stay here in Midnight Green. Now looking at the highest paid centers in the NFL, Cam Jurgens at number 2, right behind Creed Humphrey, who is making $18 a year. Cam Jurgens now at $17 million per year. So big payday out of Cam Jurgens. Now, we just heard from Cam Jurgens. A little while ago, he spoke to the media on his new contract extension. He says, quote, regarding the back surgery, I feel like I'm a new man. When you're going through the playoffs, I'm not concerned about me. I'm kind of concerned about what I can do to help the team and do everything I can to win. When you're playing for a Super Bowl, that is going to last forever. And there you go. Right? We just talked about the character of Cam Jurgens, what kind of person he is, and he is all about the team. He is all about winning. He will do whatever it takes. He will sacrifice his body. He'll put it on the line, and he showed that in the NFC Championship game, even coming back. I mean, what the other players were saying about Cam, what he was playing through, the fact that he even got that equipment and got back on the field is unbelievable in itself. And the fact he played good through it all was even better. Also, Cam Jurgens, based on his extension, says, quote, I'm on this team. I have security for the years ahead. I feel safe about that. I can just worry about today and getting better. And that's a true thing. When these players go through these contract years and they're worrying about what their payday is going to look like. Hey, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to do this. Now they got the money. Now they can just focus on the craft and, build on getting even better than they already were. So shout out to Cam Jurgens. But ladies and gentlemen, right, we knew the Jurgens extension was most likely coming here in year 3. The question is, what does it mean for the Birds, right? The whole story of this offseason, the whole takeaway has been, we're trying to optimize the window, right? And we're trying to extend the window. Howie Roseman has been trying to extend the window. And to do that, he has needed to let certain players go this offseason, right? Couple vets that we all really like and guys that may be up for contracts next year or this year. So they've had to make some tough decisions, right? And they've had to let some names go. But why have they done that? It's been so you can extend all of these young, versatile, dynamic, talented players and make sure they all get their payday. The guys that you really want to build around for the next 5 to 10 years. And we keep going back to the year 2029, right? We said Jurgens is now tied to the Eagles through 2029. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, when you start to really look at this team and you look at what they're building, I mean, they have the key core players locked down for the next several years. I mean, it is genius work by Howie Roseman. Cam Jurgens now has a cap hit of $5.8 million for this year, and ESP here says he'd be surprised if that even changes much with the new contract. Eagles offensive line now has 4 key starters locked up long-term in deals that make them anywhere from the highest paid to the 6th highest paid player at their positions. But what do we always say when it comes to locking up your free agents and your young studs? You have to be first to the market. And I think Howie Roseman has done a really good job with that, even with the receivers and AJ and Devontae and Jalen. Like, it's all about being the first mover, right? It's all about setting the precedent, because then the next guy's going to come and they're going to get paid more. And then the next guy is going to come around and they're going to get paid more. So at the end of the day, it's all about being first and being able to get these deals done, right? We saw that with the Jamar Chase thing last year. Like, look at how much Devontae and AJ got paid, and then all these other guys started to come through after. That's because Howie Roseman set the bar. And getting this done with Cam Jurgens and locking up 4 guys on your offensive line, who, by the way, is the most dominant in the NFL, who helped Saquon Barkley achieve a record season in his first year with the franchise, is just genius work. You look at Mailata, signed through 2028. Landon, signed through 2028. Jurgens, signed through 2029. And Lane Johnson, signed through 2027. And Howie Roseman does a really good job of drafting in the trenches. So, you know, when these guys' deals are up, the next guy is going to come in. And they'll probably draft another guy from a big school who will be a stud. And then they'll go through that cycle as well. But it's just nice to know that they have these guys locked down and they make that the priority, and that has always been their philosophy. Now, here are the Eagles players locked up through 2028. Jalen, AJ, Devontae, Saquon, right after the extension, and the O-line, Zach Bond, Nolen Smith, Jalen Carter, Quinyon, and DeJean will be next on the totem pole. So, again, you lose some of these big names, but this is how you have to build your team now. You can't get wrapped up in just 1 year or 2 years. Howie Roseman, I think, is willing to take a gamble that the Eagles will still be naturally as good this year with the talent that they have that won the Super Bowl. And he's willing to potentially, I'm not saying they will, but he's willing to potentially take a little minor step back this year if it means that they're going to be really good for the next 4 years. And I think that is a good decision. Now we have to talk about what Howie's going to do on Thursday night. Where do they go? Who do they draft? A lot of draft choices, and we got some more chatter from Adam Schefter. He dropped a little intel piece on all of the NFL teams right now. And this is what he said about the Philadelphia Eagles this week. Quote, contrary to internet speculation, the Eagles are not trading A.J. Brown. The star wide receiver signed a 3-year extension a year ago this week. So I'm glad we could put this stupid rumor to bed. The Eagles are never trading A.J. Brown. He's put up some of the best seasons in franchise history in his first 3 years with the team. He should be here for the rest of his career. That's how good he is. They're not trading him. They're not getting rid of him. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I'm glad we could put that to bed. But the more important thing is that Adam Schefter says, speaking of trades, no team is in a better position to make them this week than the Eagles. They own 20 selections in the next 2 drafts, more than the actual number of players who can make their team. Therefore, they have added bargaining power should they try to trade for available veterans, a certain possibility during the draft, or if they decide in a less likely scenario that they want to move up. So what Adam Schefter is saying here is that the Philadelphia Eagles are less likely to move up in the first round than to just use a pick or use a couple picks and go get some veterans for this team. Now, am I completely mad at that? No. Like, there are a handful of guys I think they could trade up for, maybe 4 or 5 spots if they really are zoned in on a guy. They said they didn't have 32 first-round grades, but if I'm thinking about safety where they don't have a starting safety right now, or maybe tight end, right, depending on what happens with Dallas Goedert, or whatever else the case may be, I wouldn't be mad if they go out and get a veteran and bring him in, right? They did that with DeAndre Swift. They did that with A.J. Brown on draft night. They have done this before, and they know how to get the right pieces and make it work. So if there's a position that they're targeting, maybe let's just say safety, for example, right? And then, Starks goes off the board and they don't want to draft one in the 4th round, and they go look around the league, scour some teams, and, pick up a guy that's not going to sign an extension, and they bring him in for cheap and let him start for this team who has more experience than a rookie. Am I mad at that? No. I mean, the Eagles have a lot of selections. Like Schefter said, they can't use all of those picks. And they're still going to draft a lot of good young players, and they have a lot of good young players, but you also need that veteran presence in the locker room, right? You lose a guy like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, so maybe they go out and they find another safety and they make it happen. I would not be mad at that, but I do think it's interesting. He says it's less likely that they move up. Maybe he is kind of signaling here that they could trade back, which we always thought was a possibility. So we'll see how that goes, but nonetheless, I think the Eagles are stacked with a lot of draft capital, and whatever way they decide to go with this, I think it's going to work out because, they have the leverage in this situation to make it work. And Howie's done all of the above before, and they've mostly worked out. Now, a guy that we've talked about a lot if they stay at 32 is Walter Nolen. And this came out a few days ago, but I just wanted to highlight the Eagles actually brought him in on a top 30. That had not been reported previously, but Adam Kaplan on Inside the Birds says that Walter Nolen came in on a top 30. And if I had to guess, if there was a hierarchy right now, what guy would the Eagles prefer if they stay at 32? I think Walter Nolen's right there. And if he's on the board, I do not see them trading back out of it. I think they'll take Walter Nolen, an interior defensive lineman, especially with Milton Williams leaving. If you go back and you compare their scouting profiles, they're actually very similar. And Walter Nolen actually graded out higher than Milton Williams. He actually has more potential than they said Milton Williams had. It's definitely in my top 3 or 5 prospects that I've been looking at. So shout out to Walter Nolen. And if he's there, I think he's going to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Another guy that has been mentioned now is Olufemi Oladejo. I'll call him Femi Oladejo just so I don't butcher his first name. But Eagles have apparently hosted him as well on a top 30 visit. Tony Pauline is reporting that Oladejo could be a target for the Eagles at 32. I do not think that's going to happen. This would be more of like a trade back scenario in my opinion. I've heard Oladejo's name in the 2nd round and the 3rd round. I don't think he's going to get up to 32. If he does, shout out to him, but I just don't see it happening. Anyway, the Birds apparently really like him, and I have been hearing some chatter for the last couple weeks. Here's what Tony Pauline said, quote, "In convos late last week, I was informed that Oladejo will end up being selected anywhere from 30 to 45. Besides the Niners, who hold pick 43, I'm told the Eagles with the last pick in round 1, as well as the Titans and Patriots at the top of round 2, are possibilities to pull the trigger on Oladejo." So, look, this is another exciting prospect. I think he would definitely fit the Eagles' defense. Question is, where do they want to pick? Are some of the other names that they've mentioned beforehand on the board? And if they trade back, would they still be able to get them? So either way, we know that the Eagles are going to target defenders early on. We'll see what happens. The best part about Howie is that he knows how to navigate the board and navigate the draft picks. And we'll see what they do. What do you think they do, though? Give me your thoughts down below. As always, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.